Well, I hate to tell you, but I left Drago in Montana. Do you know, when I got here and I drove up, there was this beautiful porch deck that the men had built there by my camper trailer. And I was just stunned. I mean, you ever get a chance to go around back there into the mesquites, take a look at it, and what a work of craftsmanship. So I thank Jimmy and Bud and Danny for their work on that, and anybody else who might have had a part in it. And that night, first night after I was here and I was sleeping, or not yet asleep, laying there in bed, I heard this crashing sound on the deck. And I thought somebody was tearing it apart. Jumped out of bed and went out there and threw open the door, and there was Drago. His head stuck between the rails. And he had flown all the way from Montana because he did not want to be left behind. Can you believe that? And so Drago is here. So do you want to come out here, Drago?
Of course I do.
Well, I'll get you out of this mess you're in here.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, get the right hand in my head. Thank you for that, too. Oh, there are some new folks.
Yeah, there's some people here you haven't seen before, aren't there?
Yeah, there are. They're good looking, too. Not like you.
Are we starting that again, Drago?
I'm sorry.
Okay. So while you were flying, you told me you were working on your Bible verses?
Yeah, I was.
And you were working on Proverbs 3, 5, and 6?
Yeah.
So did you get it down?
I think so.
Well, do you want to quote those verses for the group?
Yeah, I do. I'm scared.
Drago, these people love you.
Do you?
Wow. So say your verses.
Okay. Trust the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He'll direct your paths. Is that okay?
That was good.
I don't know what it means.
You don't know what it means?
No, I don't know how to trust like that. With all my heart.
That is a tough one, isn't it? Trusting the Lord with all your heart.
Yeah, how do you do that? How do you get there?
Well, you get there by trusting.
Wise guy.
Well, you know, when we begin trusting the Lord, we may have doubts and we think, Lord, I'm praying about this and I want to trust you. But in our mind, it's, will God come through or won't He?
Yeah, does He?
Well, as we see Him come through, our trust in Him grows. And then we can trust Him more next time.
Really? Is that how it works?
That's how it works. And we see God working in our lives, and we learn we can really trust Him. And as we grow as Christians, we can trust Him more.
You know, I was trusting Him to get me here. I didn't know what I was doing. Neither did you.
Well, I know what I'm doing now.
What are you doing now?
I'm putting you back in your den.
Did you hear that? Would you really?
Yes, because you can't stay out here forever.
Well, so long. Love you guys.
All right, Drago. Well, last time I was here, we were in Ephesians 5, and that's where we're going to be again today for a start. But before we start, let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come to this time, to our whole time, dependent on you. It has to do with trust. Trusting you with all our hearts. Trusting you to work in our lives. Trusting you to speak through your word, by your Spirit, to the needs in each one of us. And the needs are generally different between each one, but you have a way of speaking through your word and touching that particular need that we have. I pray you would do that this morning. May your Spirit permeate this place. And by your Spirit, may you speak to hearts, my heart and each one of us here. Lord, we need you and to grow in you and to become all you would have us to be. It's by your hand that we're molded into a vessel for your pleasure. Guide us today. Guide me as I minister your word to accomplish your purpose for this time. Again, we look to you by faith. In your precious name, Jesus. Amen. So in Ephesians chapter 5, verses 1 and 2, that's where we started last time. And I want to go over that again. But we're going to go in a little different direction today. And the title of the sermon is Fake It Till You Make It. And that was a catchy title, but it's not totally accurate. But I think you'll get the idea as we go along. Because verse 1 begins, therefore be imitators of God as dear children. We're to imitate him. It's kind of like faking it till you make it. You know, we don't always feel like doing what he wants us to do. Do it anyway. Fake it till you make it. And so we are to be imitators, and the Greek word is mimiketos or something like that. But it's the word from which we get our word mimic, to mimic something. And, there was I may have told you about it last time. I think I did. A little girl that was at the zoo, and it was either a chimpanzee or a young gorilla. And she was there by the window, and she put her nose up to the window, and I don't remember which it was, but I'll say it was a young gorilla. And the young gorilla put its nose right up to hers. And she pulled away, and the gorilla pulled away. She put her hand up, and the gorilla put its hand up. And everything she did, the gorilla mimicked. That's kind of the picture here. Look at God. What does he do? How does he live? What's his nature? And we're to mimic that. We're to imitate God so that people see him, in a sense, when they look at us. We're to be like him. So therefore be imitators of God as dear children. Isn't it great to be dear children of God? And the word dear there is a strong word for dear. And it's the idea of dearly beloved children. He loves you. Sometimes we wonder how he can love us, but he does. He loves us with all our warts. And we're to be imitators of God and walk in love. What does that love look like? As Christ also loved us and loved us and given himself for us, an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet-smelling aroma. You know, when we're givers and we're giving ourselves to God and for his use, when we're living sacrificially, that's a sweet aroma to the Father, just like it was when Christ gave himself. And we're to be givers. But right at the beginning of this verse, there's that word, therefore. When I was in Bible college, They taught me, when you see that word, you're to ask, what's it there for? Why is it there? Well, it's pointing backwards. It's in light of what was just said, be imitators of God. So we've got to go back a few verses into chapter 4 to understand the therefore. And so I want to take you back to verse 25 in chapter 4. And we see several contrasts as we move through these verses to the end of chapter 4. In verse 25, and all of these things, it's demonstrating or contrasting the natural man, how we would naturally respond to what we do when we're imitating God. Here's our natural response. But if I had a God response, if I was imitating him, what would it look like? And that's kind of what's laid out here. And so in verse 25, it says, therefore, putting away lying, that's the natural response. How many have never lied? And don't lie by raising your hand. And I think all of us have had especially those lies of convenience. You know, well, I just didn't want to tell them the truth. Sue and I went. Sue, from those who don't know me, was my late wife who died a little over 2 years ago of COVID. But she asked me, I don't remember the exact question, but I think I have the right one. She said, do I look fat in this dress? And I said, Sue, don't ask me that kind of question. I said, don't ask me that question unless you want the absolute truth. Because I'm not going to tell you lies of convenience. I've done that enough in my life. And God's convicted me about it. And so she would say something like, does my hair look good this way? And I'd look at her and she'd look at me. Well, does it? And I'd say, yes, dear. Actually, that does look good. But there were times she'd ask me about a dress and I'd say, you know, many people might think that looks good. It's not to my taste. But that's all right. It doesn't have to be to my taste, hon. You don't have to tell a lie of convenience. But boy, there's a pressure to do it. That's the natural man coming out. That fallen man. And we're all fallen creatures. And we're subject to that. And frankly, I still struggle with it, even though I work at not doing that. And by the way, there's a difference between telling a tall tale like Drago flying here and lying. You know, I'm a storyteller as well, but that's different than lying. Lying is when you want to make the story sound like it's really true. Anyway, we're to put aside the lying, put it away. Let each one of you speak truth with his neighbor, for we are members of one another. We need to care about each other enough to speak truth or to keep our mouth shut. You know, God always speaks the truth. We're told in Titus chapter 1, God who cannot lie. He doesn't lie. Mimic God. Imitate God. Work at not lying. Lying is so easy to do, isn't it? And but fake it till you make it. Start working at it. Do what's right, even if you don't feel like it. I don't feel like telling the truth in this situation, but I guess I better. Imitate God, but tell it with grace and love. Yeah, you look fat in that dress. That's not quite the way to do it. So, the next verse says, be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your wrath, nor give place to the devil. be angry. God knows righteous anger. His anger is righteous. And his judgments are righteous. Our anger's not always so righteous. And we will get angry, and that's recognized here. But if we're angry, we're not to let the sun go down on our anger. In other words, drop it. Drop it. Because as we harbor anger, we're giving place to the devil. Mimic God. Don't harbor anger. God does not harbor anger toward people in that negative way at all. His anger is at the sin. And we can be angry about sin, but not harbor anger toward people. And there's a difference. When we're harboring that anger in there, we're giving a place to the devil in our lives and for him to begin to work and mess us up. Imitate God. Be angry at the sin. Yeah, what they did to me was wrong. But you know, Lord, I've done wrong to people too. I'm not going to harbor that anger. I'm going to drop it. There was a lady, I think she was having her 100th birthday, and on a news video that I saw, the person interviewed her for her 100th birthday. A lady interviewed her and asked her what the secret was of her age. And she said, "I'm never angry and I'm never resentful." And the lady was kind of taken back who was interviewing and said, "You're never angry or resentful?" Or something to that effect. And she said, "Well, when I feel anger, I just say to myself," I forget her name, but "Jenny, drop it." And I drop it. If I feel resentment toward someone, I say, "Jenny, drop it." And I drop it. And she said, that way, I'm free of that. And I can live longer. Anger, resentment, all of that destroys us, doesn't it? It's not destroying that other person. It's destroying me. I remember when my period of anger in my life when I was younger, and that anger was destroying me. It didn't destroy others. It affected others. Not the one I was angry about, but the other people around me. Drop it. Don't give the devil that place in your life. Lord, help me drop it. Can we do it in our own strength? I don't think so. But it's not by might, but by power, not by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. Lord, give me the strength just to drop this, to forget it. And I might have to pray that 30 times. You know, Lord, help me have the right attitude. Lord, help me not to be angry at this person. Help me, Lord. Help me to love them with your love instead of being angry. Then it goes on, let him who stole steal no longer, but rather let him labor, working with his hands what is good, that he may have something to give him who has need. You know, in that age and culture, there was a lot of pilfering that went on. When slaves were working, they might pilfer from their boss. Other people, when they had a chance, you know, well, finders keepers, losers weepers. And he's saying, you know, don't steal. There was a kid I knew, and he had a terrible work ethic. And, you know, he would hide during his work hours so that he didn't have to actually work. He was surprised when his hours got cut. He was stealing. He may not have realized it, but there are ways we steal that we shouldn't. But here, God doesn't do that. He's a giver. If we're going to imitate God, we need to be givers, not takers. We may receive. Sometimes it's hard to receive what people give. But there's a difference between receiving and being a taker. But we need to be generous. Lord, give me a generous spirit. I want to be a giver. Has God given you anything? Man, He's given me my very breath. He's given me so much in life. What a God. He's a giver. He wants to give to us. He gave us His salvation. He gave us His Son. He gave us eternal life. He gave us forgiveness of all of our sins. Am I that same kind of giver? That I'm ready to forgive that person for their sin against me instead of holding it against them? Imitate God. Be a giver. And then, verse 29, let no corrupt word proceed out of your mouth. The old man, the corrupt words want to come. Do you ever find words enter into your mind and you think, why was I thinking that word? Lord, forgive me for even thinking it. And that's that old man. But don't let it out your mouth. No corrupt word or communication proceeding out of the mouth, but what is good for necessary edification, that it may impart grace to the hearers. Did you get that word, necessary? Necessary edification. The word edification is building up or encouraging. We all need building up and encouraging, don't we? At our lowest moments, our hardest times, even when we're struggling with sin in our lives and we're having such a hard time getting beyond it, we need to be encouraged, to be lifted up, to be helped, not to be torn down. It's necessary. It's necessary edification or building up. That's what love does. We're imitating God and walking in love as He does. Then we're not going to let those words proceed. They'll come at times, won't they? There are times we blow it. What do we do then? Lord, forgive me for that. I remember times with my kids when they were growing up when I had to go to my kids, when I'd gotten angry with them and I'd really ripped them. And had to say, son, I was wrong in the way I dealt with that. Forgive me. We're not perfect, but we're to imitate God. Give it our best. Love as He loves. And so He doesn't have any corrupt communication coming out of His mouth. So we shouldn't either. Imitate God. How do you do that? Only in the power of the Spirit, as you're walking in close communion with Him. God, help me to control this wretched tongue. You know, in the book of James, James says the tongue is a world of iniquity. Who can control it? No one can control it, he implies, and no one can. We can't control our tongue, but He can. Commit your tongue to Him. I commit my tongue to Him. He has a hard time with my tongue. So, following that, he says, and do not grieve the Holy Spirit by whom you were sealed for the day of redemption. These kinds of things, when the old man comes out, it just grieves God. He feels like, oh man, His heart goes out to us. It grieves him when we use corrupt communication, when we lie, when we're unforgiving, then we hold on to that anger. It grieves God. It doesn't make him mad at us, but it grieves his heart because he wants to see us become all we can be in him. Fully engaged in that. And then he re-emphasizes some of this in the next verse. Let all bitterness, wrath, anger, clamor, and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. These things grieve God, in other words. The bitterness that we can have, the wrath is outward demonstration of our anger. The anger is an inward thing. Clamor is rah, 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 we complaining about everything. Rah. Evil speaking, tearing other people down, in other words, the slander. In our present culture, there is so much slander going back and forth. It's like a mud fight. It grieves God when Christians participate in all that. God, help me not to grieve you. And 32, and be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God in Christ forgave you. He forgave us while we were yet sinners. He forgave me when I was a total wretch. He loved me and forgave me anyway. Somebody wronged you? Forgive them just like God forgave you. That's what love does. And it's not our love, it's the love of God in us, flowing out through us. Lord, fill me with your love that I might relate to others properly. Therefore, in light of all of that, in other words, be imitators of God as dear children and walk in love. Do the loving thing, whether you feel like it or not. You know, our feelings come and go. It's what we do. What are we doing? How are we responding? Lord, help me to love like that, to walk in love. Will we be perfect? Nah, we won't be till we get to glory. But you know, we can be in such close communion with him and walking in love in such a way that the people around us will see Christ in our lives. And when we blow it and we're willing to admit it and we're willing to say, I'm sorry, what an impact that has. We can do it. We can live like that. Lord, help me to do it. Heavenly Father, thank you for this time. Thank you for your word. It convicts me, and I want to grow in these areas, Lord, and to do better by the power of your Spirit working in me, because your Spirit indwells each one of us who have put our faith in you. May we submit to your Spirit and seek your help, your power, to become what you would have us to be and to walk in love. Thank you for this loving body, for these people who care so much about one another. And Lord, help us to maintain that, even in the face of the hard times that come at times. We love you because you first loved us. Thank you for your love. We pray these things in your precious name. Amen.